Thank you. I'm Yuka. I'm Japanese university student. I'm now senior. I was in United States for study abroad from last year's August to December, 4 months. And I'm 100% Japanese. Yeah, thank you.
There it is. Thank you very much. How did we meet, my dear? Go ahead. How long have we been talking together? Yeah.
hmm
How did we meet? How did you meet me? How did I meet you?
Yeah. We met in the English what lesson?
Yeah, in
Yeah,
English lesson.
I
Yeah.
learned from you for 4 years,
That's a
five
long time.
years.
That's a long time. I know, and we're still very good friends, my dear. Fantastic. I met you out of high school and then now finishing university. Wow.
hmm
What a time, right? What a time. I'm so proud of you, my dear. I'm so proud of your accomplishments,
Yeah.
how far you've come along. And it's very, very nice to have you here today. Okay.
hmm
All right. So here we go. Question number, what? That was one. Question number two. Our
hmm
podcast, by the way, the theme, it's on English. It's on living in the US because you were there for a few months. And the first time
hmm
was the first time you lived outside of Japan, right? That was the first time.
Yeah. Huh?
Okay, very cool. And your unique take on African American studies, because
hmm
that is very, very interesting because I haven't been in the US since, right? So
hmm
I want to hear so much more about it. Question number two, being a student, Ms. Yuka, being a student yourself and still a student,
hmm
what do you study and how long do you study those subjects?
Okay. In the United States, so I majored business, and I took 4 classes, and two of them are related to business, and one is international business, and one is macroeconomic. But two of them are totally different from the business categories, and one is linguistics, and one is, so as you said, the African American history. Yeah, so I was interested in the business, so I majored business, but actually, so I was really curious about, so no business categories, linguistics and African history. So I really enjoy such study, and yeah, then focused on the African American studies. So I wanted to learn something. So if I can't learn in Japanese, so I
Mm,
took this course, but
very cool.
actually, none, yeah, all of students except me are related to African American or American. So
Oh,
I struggle in yeah in getting their community, so and
relating,
to
yeah.
communicate, yes, and communicate with them. And yeah, other struggle for me was like I couldn't so describe my opinion because
Mm,
I no experience to learn American history, and I had
mm,
no experience such like a discrimination like
yeah.
this. Yeah.
Interesting. So you started off with, so in Japan, you were also a business student, yes? A business student in Japan. That's what you're studying
Um,
in university?
no, I majored international studies in my
Oh,
Japanese university,
okay.
but focuses on like economic or business.
Got you, got you. And then when when you visited the United States, you had your study abroad. That's when you went into more international business and macroeconomics. Then for your electives, you
Yeah.
chose topics that were outside what you could learn in Japan,
Mhm.
which is, I think, super smart. This is why I keep her. This is why I keep her,
Mhm.
ladies and gentlemen, is because she is super smart. You see that? She chose a
Yeah.
topic
No.
totally out of spectrum, totally out of her league, and that's
Mhm.
what makes you fantastic, Miss Yuka. It does. It does. It does.
Yeah.
People grow when they're
Thank you.
challenged, right? No, you're
Mhm.
welcome. No, thank you, right? It's you can't grow if you don't go, right? And you
Mhm.
went and did something quite challenging,
Mhm.
but you surrounded yourself around the community. You had no idea, right? Right?
Yeah.
you
I had
no
no
idea what
idea.
you're getting yourself into. You don't know the community, you don't know the background, you don't know the history, you don't know the language, the vocabulary. Like, it's a whole nother world, and it's crazy because it exists inside the United States. Now, where did you stay there?
Yeah, I was in the state of Arkansas, in the middle of United States, you know.
I
Yeah.
do, I do, I do know
Everyone
exactly where
loves him. I don't know, but
because it's just
yeah.
everyone laughs when you say Arkansas, like Arkansas, like for real. Americans will laugh
I
when you say
love the state. The great nature, great kind people. I really love the state.
I'm so happy for it. That's great because there are so many. There's 50 states, right? There's 50 states in
Yeah.
the U.S., right? And I promise you, there's a lot of other diversity. So much happening in every different state. Everyone is special. Very cool. What city? What city were you in, and what were you nearby?
I was in Conway.
Conway, Arkansas. Nice. Some of your activities in and out
Mhm.
of the University of Central Arkansas, or just some activities. Yeah.
Yeah, I had some outdoor activities in the university, in the Conway, in the Arkansas, like canoeing, like camping, log climbing, backpacking,
Ooh.
or like that. So yeah, I stayed in the forest for 3 days. No running water, no gas, no electrics, no Wi-Fi. So yeah, it was so hard for me, but great experience. I could feel great nature. I could talk with like American people, and yeah, it was great opportunities because yeah, I had less chances to do it in my country. Yeah,
That sounds so special. I want to go camping.
yeah. You
Camping
should.
in Japan is very strange sometimes, and
Oh,
it's funny because I'm 100% American, right? Like, we know this. I
yeah,
tell this to everyone, guys. I'm from California, right? I've said people forget,
yeah.
right? So every time I do something in Japan, I just do it like I know that I've known forever, right? And for some reason, there's an extra Japan rule that I just didn't know. Like, I did not know there's a rule here. No one tells me. No, I just find out, right? So, when you go camping, you can barbecue. It's allowed, right? But there's a
Hmm.
certain time. You can only barbecue in a certain time in a certain place, and you can only use appropriate barbecue material. Like, you can't just open a fire, right? It's not allowed. But in the U.S., you could just show up anywhere, right?
Yeah.
You can dig a hole and then just start
Hmm.
making food. Like, you can do that. I'm sure that's something you did, right? Like, I'd even go with you, but I'm sure that's what you guys did.
Yeah, we did.
Right? You could just dig a hole and we could just camp here. Like, this looks like a good place, feels kind of safe. Let's do it.
Hmm.
Right? Right. But in Japan, you couldn't do that. You could not do that in Japan.
Yeah.
There's a certain place, certain space, certain time,
Yeah.
certain
The style is
equipment.
totally different. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, what? Like, huh? Can I go into the lake? Like, no, you can't touch the water. Like, this is weird camping.
Yeah.
In Japan, it's the number one concern or rule is safety. Everything above all in
Yeah.
Japan is absolutely safety. Like, you cannot go to step 2 unless step 1 safety is complete. Like, safety is step 1
Mm-hmm.
and everything else, right? Everything else in Japan. So step 1 is safety, which is cool. Like, that's cool, right? But in America, it's like step 7. It's like we have it. It's on the top 10, guys, but we don't check for that until a little later, right? And you're just like, you went rock climbing with just a rope. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
right? I dare you to say something like that to people in Japan. They would freak out. They're like, no way. That doesn't seem
Mm-hmm.
safe. I'm not going to do it, right? But Americans are like, I don't need a rope. I just, whatever. Right? Like, this is crazy stuff. That's cool. Okay. What about the worst part? What was the worst activity you've done? Something that was a terrible experience. You got one of those? Do you have any terrible experiences yet? Something
Sorry.
because of Did you have any terrible experiences? Anything that was
Uh-huh.
terrible outside activities?
Okay. Then for the camping,
Ooh.
camping was terrible experience for me, but it was
No.
fun, but it was terrible because so I needed to sleep in maybe 0 or 1 degree Celsius. Yeah, with just a sleeping bag. Yeah, it was so
So
cold, so I
cold.
couldn't sleep anymore. So, and then my arms, my foot is freezing. Then my friends get get the bed and they sleep well. So how can I do that? So it was terrible experience.
Oh no, no. It's conditions, right? You have a lot of people who've done
Yeah,
this
yeah,
many,
yeah.
many times. You can see
Mm-hmm.
you're like, wow, this is normal for you guys, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's funny because it's true, right? It's like, and it gives you a perspective. It really helps you understand. You're like, wow, like humans can do this. This is
Mm-hmm.
possible, right?
Yeah.
People are comfortable, and if you complain, then you're the weird one, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're like, I have to find a way to overcome. And look at that. Now you're talking about it, right? So in the future, you're like, I'm gonna bring socks, an extra bag,
Yeah.
like 3 jackets. Like I'm bringing a heater. In Japan, they have the hand warmers, right? The warmers. You could bring those. No one will know, right? No one will know you have them. You could hide it in your socks. Many university students and high school students hide the warm packets, right, in the
Mm-hmm.
shoes, in the jacket, in their stomach or whatever. Like
Yeah, we do that.
I see many stuff like, what are you touching? Like they're always like rubbing something. What are you touching? And they take it like, oh, it's winter. So now you know. Very cool. Thank you, my dear, for the share. Okay, how about this? What was the most difficult part of your trip, your classes, your studies, right? What was the most difficult part of your trip, the class, or your studies? What was it?
Mm, the difficult was communication in English because so I know the grammar of English, so I know the word of English, but I didn't know about like a slang or some accent of English, so I couldn't hear their English. So I had to like hear and say my opinion, hear and say the opinion. So I always say, "Could you say it again? Could you say it again?"
Repeat,
So
can you
it
repeat? Can
was
you repeat?
yeah,
Yeah.
it was hard.
That you took an African American studies class. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think? What did you think of the class? What was your initial like idea to the exposure? How did you feel? What was going on? What was going in your head? Tell me about it.
Okay. So before taking this course, African American history, so I had some sad emotion, like African American history is like a focuses on like a slave, some discrimination
Yeah.
experience or like that. So I felt some sad feeling, so learning from them. But after the semester, so I thought, oh, I needed to do something so to change this situation
Mm.
because yeah now yeah there is a history, but so now is now. So if I do something new, if I do something which change this world, so
Oh,
yeah for the future, so I change my brain from past to future. So yeah,
nice. That's okay. That's a
yeah.
good way of saying it. You know what? Remember, so for the audience, right? The people who are going to watch this and listen to this podcast, remember that you are primarily a Japanese speaking person, right?
Yeah.
Like Japanese is your first language. So to explain what you are trying to tell me, number one, fantastic, very good job. I'm sure everyone's going to understand exactly what you're saying, right? Because you're explaining this at a very high level. Like that's very difficult to explain. It is. It's to talk about a subject as what's the word? As sensitive as we're discussing. It's a very difficult concept, right? It's discrimination, racism, right? That's a hard concept to discuss. That's so tough. And how you felt, right? So you came into the class, you had no idea what you're getting yourself into. You had you have no preconception except for what you've seen on TV and maybe what you've learned in history books or movies and stuff. And other than that, that stuff is not real, right? It's just like TV, right? It's just fake sometimes, or programs. Then you came to a class, you learned some more history, you spoke to some people, you listened to some stories, and that changed your ideas. And it feels like you want to do more. The word you're looking for is advocacy. I'll type it here. Advocacy, all right? Advocacy, all right? Look at this. I can't even spell English anymore, by the way. All right. Advocacy, okay? And that's a very good word. Here it is. Sorry. And that means, and even in our podcast, I'm still teaching, right? Look at me. I'm a teacher, right? It's what I do. So you want to give support, or you want to demonstrate or show like a recommendation to people about a certain idea or a certain cause. You're like, hey, look, this is my idea. Please listen to my idea. This is what I think. Here, look at what I think, right? You want to show people, you want to share with people, and you want to change the world, right? And if you know anything about me, my dear, that's my profession. I'm a social worker. That's what I do. Anything that surprised you while you're out there? Anything that took you by surprise that I wasn't able to ask you? Yeah, foods or other people. Yeah, what'd you get?
Food is surprising, super surprising for me. American food is kind of colorful.
Colorful food? What?
Colorful food.
What? So okay. What? Explain that. Well, what are the basic Japanese food colors? Let's just go with that, just for audience who doesn't know what that means.
Basic colors, Japanese colors.
Yeah, for food, right? Because if American food's colorful.
Yeah. Japanese food is kind of color is natural, like the vegetable color, or like a
green, dark green, light green,
dark green, or like a rice color, white, or
right.
Yeah. But for me, the color is like a vivid red,
yellow,
red,
orange,
yellow, green, the vivid blue,
like
and.
Like, why is it blue, right? Like, everything has ketchup. This is crazy.
Yeah, they are beautiful, but surprising experience for me.
Anything else that surprised you, people-wise? Did you visit anywhere else that was outdoorsy or meet anything new?
Surprising to the people. Yeah, for me, the people are so kind, and people are, so great. People are so funny. So, yeah, I was so surprised that the people talk very well.
That's so nice.
And yeah, and they always smile, and they always talk to me. Yeah, and then it was so fun for me.
Yeah, it feels very kind.
Yes.
It feels so kind, and that's why I was trying to explain that to many students, people I work with here in Japan. I told them that, like, I was like, in the US, people just talk to you. They'll just talk to you, right? Like, they will just like, I don't know you, you don't know me. We're going to be together for the next 7 minutes, and there's a chance I'm going to have a conversation with you, right? I tell people all the time, there's Spencer, do you have any friends in Japan? I was like, not really. I was like, I'm not really. And they're like, what do you mean? And I was like, guys, like in the US, I can get on the bus, see a guy, be like, hey man, cool shoes, right? I could literally just look
Yeah,
at
yeah,
this.
yeah.
I don't even know this guy. I'm like, hey man, nice shoes, right? And then for the whole bus ride, by the end of it, we'll be really good friends. I'll have his Instagram. We'll be talking later. Right? Hey, let's go get some pizza. Right? But in Japan, that's impossible. Like you cannot do that. Right? I can't
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
to
yeah.
anyone. Right? I can't talk to anyone under the train. They're gonna like, oh, quiet, 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 quiet. They're gonna run away
Yeah,
from me.
yeah, I have the same experience that I was so surprised that when I was in the building, the students come to me and, oh, I like your jacket. Oh, I like your shoes. Oh, I like your hair. The great hair color. Oh, I was so surprised because I don't know her. I don't know him. So, but
Yeah.
he said to me like that.
Compliments are huge. Yeah, and now that you've seen it, you can recognize. I do it all the time. Like I do it every single time I go to class. I'd be like, "Hey man, those are some nice shoes." Like every time I see a student, I always be like, "Hey, that's a nice XYZ." Because like in America, that's just what we do. That's just like a quick compliment that just creates conversation immediately, right? And it gives off a very friendly vibe. So it's very disarming. We use that verb. You know that word? Do you know that word?
I don't know.
All right, let's put it on the chat, yeah, because this is also technically a small English class for you as well. It's a verb, okay, to disarm. And yeah, so arm would be, we use the verb arm with weapons. Typically, when we arm ourselves with weapons or we put ourselves on guard, right? So it's like you are protecting yourself. You have this kind of shield or a type of wall, barrier to protect yourself from enemies or opponents. But when you give a compliment, it's very disarming. It lowers that shield. So people are like, "Hey man, nice shoes." So then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, this guy's not a scary guy. He really likes my shoes." Like, where'd you get those shoes? Oh, I got them at over here. How much? Oh, it's like $20. I guess this whole conversation already.
That's all for me.
All right, everybody. Well, I want to thank again Miss Yuka here for joining me on the Spencer Munzer podcast. Thank you so very much, my dear. You've been a
Thank you.
sweetheart, and I would love for us to have another conversation about the next experience, whatever that may be. Maybe graduation, maybe when you go to another country. Who knows? Another state. I don't know. Right? The return. Right? Imagine you're gonna have this podcast saved for forever, right? So you can always look back and be like, hey, look, once upon a time Spencer was so cute. Right? But now it's going to be a whole different experience when you move forward in your life. Okay, so I want this to be part of your history. Okay, so thank you again, Miss Yuka, for joining this podcast, everybody. When she gets her I don't know about socials. Usually this is called the plugging time, where I have a lot of other members on the podcast who have businesses, who have YouTube channels, right? It's like, check out my friend at such and such, right? Right. I like check them out at here and there, but I'm sure everything you have right now is still kind of personal. So when Miss Yuka creates her business accounts, I'll be able to share her information in the future, okay, ladies and gentlemen. But as we know, she is still on the journey of being the professional she wants to be. So thank you so very much, my dear.
Thank you so much.